of what you need on day 10 here in the body?
I think so.
Yeah. All right, so just a few words of wisdom would be great. Can you tell us who you are, where you're from,
Sure.
a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, my name's Mike Terrace, and I'm from Fairbanks, Alaska, now for the
Great
last
place.
16 years, and I work for the Alaska Department of Fish and Game as a wildlife education and outreach specialist. So, and I am here not really for work, because I don't think they wouldn't pay that much for me to come here. I don't
All the
think.
way to South Africa?
Right, to learn about tracking. I'm just doing it pretty much on my own, because it's although I do some for work, it's my work and my other time overlap. There's no real difference in my free time and my work time, other than I need to spend a lot more time on the computer at work. So, but the interest is the same.
And your
So
interest
I'm just
in
here
tracking?
learning about tracking, anything about wildlife, any wildlife stuff, plants and animals and everything. So.
Well, you made it. First time to South Africa, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And you've been tracking here with Adrian
Yes.
and Coyote Trails
Yes.
for almost 10 days now.
Yeah.
And how was it?
It was excellent. It was a very good learning experience. And we spent a lot of time just practicing actual strategies of tracking, trailing animals, and he hammered home a lot more of the not just seeing a track, but how to see them. Which is kind of, I think it's missed in a lot of places. How do you actually see tracks without looking onto the ground and looking ahead of you instead? And just a lot of really good lessons.
So is it an emphasis on track ID, or I heard you say something about trailing?
Trailing.
So what is trailing? What were you
Following
doing?
an animal.
Following an animal? So what's the goal of trailing?
The goal of following an animal?
Yeah.
It depends who you are.
Why do you want to follow an animal in South Africa? Don't you want to go the other way?
The reason I want to follow an animal in South Africa is so that I can follow an animal at home.
Oh, I see.
Just to transfer that skill over. Being here, it's just good because it's a different world and different continent, different wildlife that I would have wanted to see anyways, but the trailing and the tracking part was a stimulus to get me to come here. I don't think I would have come here otherwise if it wasn't a tracking program.
So you're feeling that the trailing that you're doing here in South Africa is transferable
It's applicable
to
yes.
Alaska,
Transferable.
where you
It's
live.
a skill.
And why is that important? What are you going to learn following an animal around the bush?
Well, you learn how to, excuse me, viewers. You learn how to follow it. In my case, maybe to hunt it, or what has happened in the past is find somebody's animal that they have shot and haven't been able to find.
So hunters, if you're hunting the animal.
Or retrieving an animal that's been wounded. Just to follow it for the skill itself, just to get people outdoors in nature, because a lot of people need a reason to go out, and this is a very good reason. It's an activity that can pass a lot of time and get you to learn a lot along the way and see a lot.
So, I've heard it said by someone that you can learn as much about an animal by trailing it as you can by looking at an animal. Do you believe after your experience that is true?
Well, honestly, I think that's easy to say on the face of it, but I think we can say that, but I believe that people that actually could do that at one time had such an incredible intimate knowledge of their environment, of the animal. I would be hard-pressed to say somebody coming out of the blue can say that they can look at this tracks and know everything about the animal, more than what, say, like a scientific research could say about the animal. I think that's from an era, and whether that exists right now, I'm not sure about that, but I'm dubious about that.
I'm thinking of Doc and what he's shown us. Doc is a South African tracker who's lived here and has been with us all week. And, when we're walking along the trail, he's, do you see that?
Yeah.
And, here is where a rhino backed up into a bush,
Oh.
And if I look at a rhino, I can't tell that bull rhino has a way of marking his territory. But the more I follow the trail, the more I'm seeing, okay, I'm learning where his territory is, how recently he was here, why he was here,
Yeah.
Is it and when you're trailing, you're doing the trailing in the tracks, and you're seeing dung. What
Right.
does dung tell you about an animal?
Tell you that it's eating. Tell you, and that can tell you whether it's healthy or not.
Totally.
I mean, just an example. I trailed a wounded moose. Somebody archery shot a moose last year, and me and another guy spent 3 days trailing it. And the first day or 2 days, it wasn't eating. But as we followed the trail, we noticed that the blood started to clot. On the third day, the moose started feeding again. It was browsing. So we decided at that time, we don't think this thing is mortally wounded. So we kind of collected data the whole 3 days and then decided, all right, we're going to let it go because A, we couldn't catch up to it, and B, on the third day, it seemed to be acting very normally. So we gathered data that way. But dung tell you the time that it's been by, as we learned. Same thing back home for deer and then elk, etc. Tell you that it's feeding. Probably tell you a whole lot of things that I don't know either. If you're somebody like Doc or Adrian,
Well, it sounds like your time with Caddy Trails in the South African bush has been fun.
It's been very, very fun, very productive.
It's been great getting to know you and spending some time out there
Thank
trailing.
you. Thank you, Sandy.
We have an
You
eval
too.
to do. Jake?
I feel like I'm doing it.
All right,
Coyote Trails.
let's go pass our eval.